First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Shaver-Hood for her continued support, who is here tonight sharing our wonderful evening. Thank you very much. And we go on that. I'd like to say personal thanks to Martha for putting up the wonderful food and Patty for taking over for band camp in the future. Running this whole activity is really nice. It was really nice. At this point, I will introduce you to Mr. Todd Schaefer, and he'll go over the do's and don'ts of the season and how you get information. Thanks to Mrs. Arquetto, we have a place where you can actually go and get up-to-the-moment information and not count on your child to bring it home. Without any further ado, Marching Band Director, Mr. Todd Schaefer.
I didn't know I had to go over do's and don'ts. In terms of access to information, as Buddy said, thanks to Mrs. Arquetto, we now have, as part of the high school website, a place where students can get a copy of the schedule that can be printed out, the schedule for the season, as well as copies of music, copies of drill, basically everything they need to be prepared for marching band besides their instrument, they can now get off the school website. And it's through the high school website, which is bmrhs.com. And what they do, and you can access this as well, you go to the students drop down, to the extracurricular drop down, and then you click on marching band, and on the left-hand column, there's something that says 2012 schedule, and there's also something that says machine music. In case your children forget, although it's pretty memorable, it is password protected just because we do have arrangements that Buddy Bebo did himself, so we want to keep them protected. The password, which is very, very difficult, is Buddy Bebo. And obviously the hardest part of that isn't remembering it, it's knowing how to spell his last name. But the kids have been told that, and hopefully they're using it, and I encourage you that if you hear them practicing and you think it sounds more like car horns and not like music, they can not only get their music, but there's actually sound files of their music on this website as well. So it's a great tool that they can use to improve, as well as, like I said, just a place to get information. So if we can give a round of applause for Mrs. Arquetto for doing all that. Just a little update. We are going to national championships this year, as I mentioned back in the June meeting, in case you weren't there. It is being held at the MetLife Stadium, which is the new Giant Stadium. Although I've been told, I was down in New Jersey last week, that they do not call it Giant Stadium because of the Jets fans, so it's called strictly MetLife Stadium. I was down there to look for a hotel. We do have a hotel, and actually the hotel we're staying at is about 10 miles away from East Rutherford, New Jersey. So it's closer than we've ever stayed to a stadium before, which is going to be extremely nice for post-performance. We're staying in a town called Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, and it looks like, through the help of the Music Association, that the cost to the students is going to be very, very similar to what it's been. It's going to be estimated about $95 per student, and that will include obviously the hotel, meals, transportation. So initially it looked like it might be more just because it's a very expensive area, as I'm sure you can imagine, as opposed to, outside of Annapolis, Maryland. The Music Association is really, really going to help out to keep the cost down for the students, which is a wonderful thing. So that's the good news I have about that, is that we have a hotel. And it's a very, very safe hotel. As I told the students, it just so happens that there's a private airport about a quarter mile behind it. That's only used for private Learjets coming that are on their way to commute to Manhattan. So these students will be able to have the opportunity to see jets. And if any of you would like to bring your Learjet, I can see if we can get you a chance to fly into that airport. So, besides that, I strongly encourage you, if you have any questions or concerns or fears that your child has come home crying or anything like that, despite what your children might tell you, I do welcome the opportunity to speak to parents. So please feel free to contact me, because it's a very busy and intense season, And there's so many kids in the group, and I want to make sure that each kid is getting the most out of this experience. So if there's any concerns you have, please either email me, call me at the band room number, or just come up to me before or after practice, because I want to make your students' time here enjoyable. Speaking of which, I have to say that this is, I said the same thing last year, but this time I actually mean it. It's been a wonderful group of students because we have challenged them this year in a way that they have not been challenged in my previous 10 years, where we brought in almost an entirely brand new staff with completely different techniques, not only of teaching, but of actually performing. And there's a lot of apprehension and worry at first, but they have adopted this technique and this style, and they are working so hard. And that's very, very impressive, because some of these kids have been in marching band for 5 or 6 years. So to do something for that long, and all of a sudden, your last year or second last year, find out that you have to learn an entirely new way of doing things is not easy, and these kids have been amazing. Because it's been a very, very slow process, and I'm sure they've told you. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful group of kids to work with. I do want to throw in that I did tell them to wear sunblock, so when you see them today, they're all red. That I warned them that it was going to happen if they didn't wear sunblock. Besides that, do's and don'ts, I think you'll hear a lot about those from our next speaker and our head chaperone. I encourage you to help out. We can always use help. Your kids might not tell you this, but coming from myself, having come through a marching band out in New York, it means a lot to look up at the end of a night, at the end of a 3-hour rehearsal or a long rehearsal, and see that you have an audience there watching. And it's a chance for you to see, the behind the scenes, if you want to call it that, of what we do to create the product that we create. So I encourage you to watch, come watch part of practice, definitely the end of practice when we do the entire run-throughs. It might ruin a little bit of surprise, but at the same time, you can also get to see a very gradual progression of performance level if you do that. So I really encourage you to come and support. And despite what you hear the staff and myself say to the students during rehearsal, you can always clap. So just because the staff might be looking down at the ground, or obviously everything they do comes from hard work. It's just that as a staff, our job is to keep on raising the level. So sometimes, we do look down at the ground. Me, maybe more than others. Anyway, so without further ado, our Music Association President, Mr. Associate.
A couple things. First off, Martha, Patty, and Karen, thank you very much. Awesome job this week. I also want to thank Joanne and Missy. Pins, they look great. Thank you. To the crew that cooked tonight, Jim, Paul. I know I'm missing a few people and I apologize, but thank you very much. I'm sure everybody is going to leave here with a full stomach. Thank you. Great job. Appreciate it. I just got a couple things I want to cover. First off, we have our home show September 29th being held at Bellingham High School. We have an ad book that's in process. We have business ads and personal ads. There's a sheet on the table right outside the glass doors. If anybody's interested in placing a personal ad, there's an email address here, but more importantly, a part of the email address, the second part, emmamusic.org, is our new website. It's up, it's functioning, it looks great. If you notice any issues, please email me or the webmaster, and we will try to address them. I expect to have a few glitches here and there, or if something doesn't look right. We're working on it. It's a work in progress, but that is a huge step for us, considering our website I can't get into even though I have the password. Not that I would have a clue what to do, but this is new, it's fresh, it appears to be very user-friendly, and that's, to me, for a person who doesn't use a computer other than work all day, is a very good thing. So go on, check it out. There should be some pictures from our Bandcamp this week. Also pictures from previous years. On there is a section for the forms, and there's a query form if you need to be queried. There's a calendar in there which represents our meeting calendar for the board of directors for the BMMA. There's also our schedule for the year is on there. It'll also be on the BMR website, thanks to Joanne. Joanne's been working with us, and Nancy Carden and Phil Tanner, who's our webmaster. And Phil doesn't even have a child in the program, but has offered his time to us, and I think that's fabulous. And Phil's not here, but thank you very much. So if you get a chance, check us out. The other thing is related to the ad book. It's adbook@bmmamusic.org. Check it out if you're interested in placing a personal ad or a business ad. We have business-sized card ads without a photo, ranging from $15 up to a full-page ad for $100. Now, what this does is we, traditionally at our home show, we would give the books away. We're doing something a little different this year. The books we're actually charging for, and the reason for that is on the book there should be a raffle ticket. We will keep half, you will keep half. At the end of our home show, we are raffling off a flat screen TV, somewhere in the vicinity of 37 to 40 inches, that has been donated to the organization. And the fundraiser that continues to be for is to travel. Now, as Mr. Schaefer mentioned, that BMMA is picking up quite a bit of the travel for finals, and we've been doing that for the past 3 years that I've been involved. That to move our kids from Blackstone to Annapolis, or Blackstone to MetLife Stadium, not Giant Stadium, it's very expensive. We have the kids on coach buses. We do make stops. There are restrooms on the buses, which make things a lot easier for the kids, and they're much more comfortable. Plus, they can watch movies. They can relax. It's such a nice environment. I've actually chaperoned on the buses with the kids in the past, and it's quite an experience. So I know Karen's going to be talking about that shortly. The other thing I wanted to mention is we have calendar raffles, and they're also outside of glass doors. Calendar raffles are for the month of November. We'll be collecting these up until like October 27th, and then they'll be drawn daily. And they're cash prizes, starting out with $50 a day. For most days, Fridays are $100, and the final day of the month, which is a Friday, is $500. What's nice about this, the cost is $10, but $5 for every ticket you sell goes into your child's profit sharing account. Now, profit sharing, you hear that a lot, and if you're new, I apologize. Let me tell you, profit sharing, we just came back from Disney in April, and there are quite a few people who paid for their child's trip through profit sharing. You can work profit sharing by selling candy, by selling raffle tickets, calendar raffles. We also have a giant raffle in March, and we'll come across that later, but you'll get information on that. We also have 2 perishable fundraisers, and one will be handed out probably in September for about 3 weeks, which consists of pies and cookie dough, which will arrive the week before Thanksgiving. We also do one in the spring, which is grated bread and cookie dough, which arrives before Easter in that area. What's nice about that, and what I try to do is select fundraisers that we give the most percentage back to the kids. And on those perishable ones, we have not missed 40% as far as coming back. I know the calendar raffles and the giant raffles is up there 50%. To me, that's not a bad deal if you can get out there and sell a couple or buy them yourself. I know I took 20 and I'll probably take most of them myself, but that's okay.